One day after the Knicks get smacked by the Milwaukee Bucks and Quentin Grimes complains about his role on the New York Knicks, Shams drops a bomb on Twitter, also known as X, and Chris and I are here to break it all down. What's up, guys? It's your boy Dariel and Chris from this Knicks Digest, and we're here to break down Shams' tweet from earlier today. And yeah, Chris, let's get right into it. So if you take a look here, the tweet from Run It Back, which seems to be like a FanDuel online show, I guess, with Michelle Beal. Shams is like a guest that drops in every once in a while. Lou Williams and Danny Green, and I think Chandler Parsons. Yeah, I think Chandler Parsons is on the show every once in a while. But on the tweet specifically, it says the New York Knicks are monitoring the marketplace. They want to see if there's a star player that's available. Shams Charania on the Knicks possible trading for a star player. I just want to talk about how it's a little interesting how Shams is just dropping that tweet, and it's a day after the Knicks get completely embarrassed by the Bucks, and you just put out a video about Grimes complaining about his roster spot on the team and his role and not really touching the ball. So I mean, what did you make out of this tweet? Like, did you find it interesting? Did you find it weird? The timing of it all?
I'll be so honest. The first thing that I thought when he said that was how funny it is that last night we fully got into the fact that you think the Knicks need to make a big move. And then the same night, because that came out late last night, I said I was going to record it on them. My lighting went out. This makes it better. We can do the duo on it. Right after you say the New York Knicks need to make some sort of trade, they turn around, Shams turns around and says, okay, the Knicks are looking to improve and get a star player. So this means this is not like the video that I put out at SNY with Bogdanovich and Jonathan Isaac and DeAndre Hunter. No, they're talking stars. They're talking Donovan Mitchell. They specifically brought up Karl Anthony Towns, which is not going to happen for a litany of reasons.
Hopefully not.
But they're talking about big stars. Donovan Mitchell, Karl Anthony Towns, Zion Williamson, guys of that caliber. Guys who, when you look at them, you think, there is a chance they could be the best player on a championship team or the leading scorer on a championship team or be the best player on the New York Knicks the second they get there.
Two other players that Shams did not talk about, but I think we should definitely include in this conversation is the two main players on the Chicago Bulls. We're talking Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. Those two players have been linked to trades crazy this season already. And it's like we're not even halfway through the season. Zach LaVine's been rumored to Charlotte, to the Lakers specifically. I saw a trade rumor about Detroit. Like, it seems like Zach LaVine.
I just put that up.
Exactly. Like, it seems like Zach LaVine is not happy with the Bulls, and they might get rid of him and DeMar, or just one of the two. But I definitely wanted to include Zach LaVine in this conversation because I just wanted to pick your brain about, like, do you see if they trade for Zach LaVine, depending on the pieces that they give up, do you see a Zach LaVine pairing up with a Jalen Brunson being a good pairing, or DeMar DeRozan, or Karl Anthony Towns? But you did mention somebody right now briefly that we definitely got to talk about right off the bat. What's your feeling towards Zion? Because I feel like you have something to say, and I definitely need to hear this to talk about it.
All right, so I am not saying that the New York Knicks should certainly go out there and give up a ton of stuff for Zion, but I'm also not saying that because let's look at some of the facts here. Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle do not fit well together. Julius Randle is a tremendous player whose value is at the highest on a team trying to win a championship right now or in the next year or two, on a team that maybe has some guys aging, such as the Pelicans, as they have Valanciunas and CJ McCollum, both of whom have a lot of mileage on them. The Pelicans have spent time as a 1 seed. They were good even without Zion for a good amount of time. It seems like Zion's not thrilled there. All I'm going to say here is that if the Knicks wanted to do like a quick hot reset and just be like, all right, well, we're not beating the Bucks, we're not beating the 76ers, we're not beating the Celtics, we're not beating a few teams out west, we're not winning the finals with this core. Julius Randle's 29 years old. What if we sent him back to a team that he knew with a former teammate of his on the Lakers and Brandon Ingram, and then maybe added Grimes to the trade because Zion certainly has higher value than Julius Randle. And then it's a gamble, but then you have a team that has potential to grow into one of the best teams in the NBA, say 2 to 3 years from now, whereas Julius will still be a great player in 2 to 3 years from now, to almost certainly. Zion could hit a higher ceiling than Julius Randle could have. Also, very quickly, this is not Julius Randle hate. I'm a huge supporter of Julius. I'm not saying do this for sure. I just want to add that in before people come for me in the comments.
No, 100%. We're just talking basketball here. Listen, man. I don't know if you saw my facial expressions when you brought up the name Zion Williamson, but I am so out. I'm out on Zion from this perspective. Just as far as his health, as far as a talent, no, I'm watching him. I want him to succeed. If he was on my team, like I would want him as a talent. As far as his body, the way he jumps off the gym, the way his handles, there's certain particular areas of the game that he can improve. His jump shot, his basketball IQ, his court awareness. There's some areas that he can improve. But as far as a raw talent, I would want him on my team any day of the week, including Sundays. But unfortunately, basketball, we don't just play off of raw talent. We play off of health. And Zion, just simply put, has not been healthy. And last season, this was literally what was going on. He was playing fine, and I think he had a really bad hamstring pull. I think it was in January or February that caused him to miss the rest of the season. So
Yeah.
right now, in this moment, Zion is I guess you could say he's on pace. He's playing the games. We just hit December. We got to see if he's able to make it through January and or February, depending on whenever that injury happened last season. We got to see if Zion can make it through a full season, bro. We got to see one full season of Zion until me personally, until I can say, like, you know what, I think I would actually trade for him. So I get it, and there's always been links with Zion. Zion had that interview talking about MSG and how he loves playing here, how he always wants to play here, stuff like that. So the rumors are always going to be swirling around that. But yeah, man, I think Zion is too much of a risk. I wouldn't risk it.
It's not that I disagree because I don't. I think there's a good chance that the New York Knicks could trade, or I think say they were to trade for Zion. I'm gonna take a guess, and people are gonna dislike this trade in the comments. I would guess that it would be like Julius Randle, Quentin Grimes, one or two unprotected firsts, and then a protected first, maybe two, depending on how many unprotecteds you're giving. I think that is the most likely scenario, and I think that is the cheapest Zion will ever be. Now, is Julius Randle an all-star, all-NBA player? Yes. Does Quentin Grimes still have potential despite being in a slump right now? Absolutely. Does that mean that Zion Williamson, that trade could be a nightmare for the Knicks? 100%. Does it also give the Knicks a higher ceiling than any team they have right now? Yes. And if the Knicks do this trade, they have the assets to do some level of damage control. Say Zion cannot stay healthy. I think they should take the risk on the mere fact that, as you said yesterday, which I completely agreed with, their ceiling is never going to be a championship team with this core. So something has to happen. I don't like the idea of trading for someone who's 34 years old, such as DeMar DeRozan or Paul George, who gets mentioned in every comment of every trade video we've ever made. But, and like, both of those guys are great players. Paul George would fit excellently with the Knicks if he wasn't in season 15.
All right.
There's a good chance that Zion's health is never going to get under control in a similar way to Blake Griffin. There's also a chance that maybe like Joel Embiid, he figures it out to some degree. And given Embiid has still had his fair share of injuries, but Zion's a guy that say he gets healthy, say he goes to New York, say he gets a new level of motivation. Because remember, he didn't want to go to the Pelicans. He wanted to go to the Knicks. There was that tweet, I'm completely forgetting from who, that I remember word for word said Zion Williamson was quickly whisked out of the room after it became apparent that the Pelicans would have the first overall pick. His entire camp was hoping for New York. Oh, wow. Zion wanted to come here. He's friends with RJ. He played AAU basketball with Emmanuel quickly. I'm not saying that's just going to solve his injuries, and now that Zion's with his friends, he's going to be healthy. That doesn't make any sense. But there's a level of motivation. There's a level of you're now playing in a premier city where people, first of all, are going to pay so much attention to you. You're going to once again be basketball's literal golden child. And you're not going to be in a city that does not care about basketball, that is not packing the Smoothie King Arena because they're more focused on the New Orleans Saints. And that is always how New Orleans is going to be. They ride for the Saints so much harder than the New Orleans Pelicans. In New York, yeah, there's the Yankees, there's the Giants and stuff, but the Knicks have their own identity, and they're not a little brother to a completely different sport. So I think Zion would have more pressure on him to be good. And I think Zion needs the pressure because he thrived under it at Duke.
What I also want to mention is Shams in the tweet, or in the video within the tweet, he said that the Knicks have 8 first-round draft picks. 4 of them are theirs, and 4 of them belong to other teams. So they, and like you were saying too, they do have the assets. You and in the trade for Zion, hypothetically, you threw out Grimes, you threw out Randall, and you threw out first round draft picks. I'm assuming that Quickly would be a part of that too. Not even just for Zion, like for other stars. I think Quickly would probably be a part of that package.
It would make more sense to trade quickly than to trade Grimes when you're talking contracts and the second apron and the fact that no matter who you trade for, they're going to be owed a lot of money, whether they're a free agent soon and you're going to have to re-sign them or they're not. And they're on a huge contract right now. It doesn't really matter regardless. They're going to have to pay someone huge money. And Quickly is going to demand a good amount of money when you're already paying guys like DiVincenzo and Josh Hart a good amount of money to come off the bench. It would make sense fiscally to keep Grimes and to trade IQ.
Yo, what I want to, okay, now I want to talk about Zach LaVine, because Zach LaVine, to me, he's one of the interesting players that's been in the trade rumor mill this season, because I can't pinpoint what team he could go to have a positive effect. Like if he comes to the Knicks, is it really gonna take them over the hump? I don't believe so. But it also depends on who we give up. It depends on the chemistry that he builds with the other players that are on the team. Because Zach, we know that Zach is an offensive, like, yeah, he's just an offensive bucket. He's a bucket. Threes, mid-range, fadeaways, off the dribble, post, like he has it all. But one of the scares that he has is his health. He's been battling knee injuries on a far lesser degree than Zion, but he's still within that conversation of like, he's he's injury prone. But like, what's your feeling when I say, what if we look towards Zach LaVine? What if we do give up a Julius Randle and a Emmanuel Quickly, and probably if that trade happens or if they offer it, definitely one first round draft pick or two will be in the package. But just what's your feeling towards that? Whenever I say the name Zach LaVine with Jalen Brunson,
I think Julius Randle is straight up better than Zach LaVine.
by
Zach LaVine,
landslide, by like,
I think he's better. I think it's enough to the point where I wouldn't put him in a trade for Zach. And believe me, I think a Jalen Brunson, Zach LaVine, Julius Randle lineup sounds like a nightmare because everyone's going to want the ball all the time, especially because you're probably keeping RJ also. And then it's just you're going to need 4 basketballs on the court.
so you're telling me that Julius Randle in the trade package for Zach LaVine is an automatic no for you?
Yep. Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
But what? Okay, so
We don't have a power forward. We don't have another one.
Okay, so you're talking about, okay. I was looking at it from the perspective of just like talent and like what Julius Randle has done for the Knicks. I keep saying that I feel like they reached their ceiling, and with Zach LaVine, I don't know if that ceiling is heightened. I don't know if he could take us over the top. That's why I'm like, really? That's why I was surprised when you saying that. But when you put it as far as like we don't have another power forward, that makes more sense. But my bad, continue.
It's mainly just the Knicks would be they wouldn't even be thin a power forward. They wouldn't have one, and it's also just the issue is Levine's not having a good year, and I think that's mainly due to Billy Donovan and just the entire Chicago Bulls being a mess right now. I don't think Zach LaVine's falling off at all. I think wherever he gets traded to, people are going to be like, why did that cost so low to get this guy on the team? Because I don't think he's going to be worth that much. It seems like there's not a huge market for him the way there is for DeRozan, which seems almost backwards to me considering age and which one's the better three-point shooter. But I think the only team that Zach LaVine actively would really make much better and turn into a real contender is if the Lakers made some sort of Austin Reeves-centered trade for him. And we do not really talk about the Lakers. Obviously, there's a Knicks channel. So there's more of just an aside very quickly to say that. If it was some Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell thing, I think then that team gets better. But I don't think the Knicks can trade for Zach LaVine and really get much better anyway. He's 28 years old. He's been in the league for 10 years. And as Scott Perry said, you're paying a guy $40 million who's played 5 playoff games ever. They weren't a particularly good 5 playoff games. He's in year 10 and has seen 1 playoff series, given it was against the Bucks, who were really good, who had Giannis, but they got obliterated. It was brutal. It was a gentleman's sweep in every sense of the word. The Bulls got manhandled by the Milwaukee Bucks. I think Zach LaVine is a great complimentary piece. I don't think he's a great complimentary piece to a scorer like Jalen Brunson. I think he's better next to a guy who's maybe a Jimmy Butler, who's not commanding a bunch of shots, or maybe LeBron, who in theory claims to be a pass-first player, stuff like that. I think Jalen Brunson, no, I just don't see the fit.
Yeah, I mean, if you asked me that question about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I would have said automatically no, because if you're Julius Randle for Zach LaVine and whoever is included in the trade package, let's say that was the offer. It's kind of a lateral offer
Yeah,
because
exactly.
it's like they both don't really. As I don't think Zach LaVine would raise the ceiling of the Knicks that much more than Julius Randle already has. But today, after seeing their game that they played against Milwaukee last night, I don't want to say I'm open to it, but I guess I would listen to it. I mean, I guess I would say I'm open to it. I'm just open. I'm open to listening to the offer.
Hmm.
It doesn't mean that I'm definitely gonna press the button and make the trade because of everything we just said, but I'm a little more open to it because, yo, we just gotta do something, bro. And I just even saying that right now, I don't like it because it kind of feels like a panic move, and I don't want them to do that. So you know what? I take everything back that I just said, yo. Forget that. No, yeah, I'm with you, man. No, I can't. We can't do that. We can't do that.
My big problem is that it doesn't seem like there's anyone available who really raises the roof for the Knicks. The most realistic player who is an undeniable perennial all-star, who it feels like not only the Knicks can get, but at some point probably will bring on to the team, is Donovan Mitchell. We've talked about Donovan a bunch on this channel, and it's not an anti-Donovan Mitchell thing. It's a similar thing as Levine almost, except Mitchell's much better.
Yeah.
The Knicks don't need Donovan Mitchell. They don't need an isolation scorer who's going to stand next to Jalen Brunson, not play great defense, try to run up the scoreboards, and then ultimately lose in the first or second round of the playoffs. I don't think that helps the Knicks because the way the Knicks are built. Say the Knicks didn't have Jalen Brunson. Say they said, no, we're not going to take the risk on Brunson. We're going to go into the season, meaning last year, with Emmanuel quickly. And then Donovan becomes available. The Knicks fail to get him from Cleveland. Cleveland stagnates as they are anyway. And say they lose to a different team in the first round, because obviously the Knicks would not have made the playoffs had they not have Jalen Brunson last year, most likely. Or if they would have been an 8th seed and lost in the first round. But then it would make some sense if you still needed that guy who could just score at will when you need a bucket. I never, even the second the Knicks signed Jalen Brunson, I was like, I don't really want to trade everything for Donovan Mitchell because I don't think this works. I don't think Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, and Julius Randle is a fit at all that works. I don't think Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell in general works. It feels like a different version of Lillard and McCollum where your two best players are under 6'3". They're offensive-minded players, which leaves no defense in your backcourt, and your entire offense coming from your backcourt. That did not work for Portland. They made it to the conference finals once with that lineup. Every other year, they lost in the first round. And that conference finals run was because Damian Lillard played out of his mind and much better than Donovan Mitchell or Jalen Brunson has ever played in the playoffs. And Jalen Brunson has been nothing but a stunningly amazing player in the playoffs. And I say that.
I think what's going to happen is I think the Knicks are going to wait it out and see by the trade deadline if there's one player that's like vehemently just like upset at the organization and he's going to, play his player empowerment card and just be like, I want to get the hell out of here. Get me out of here. So I think that's what the Knicks are going to do. Hopefully they don't make a panic move.
So we've talked a bit about Zion, but there is another New Orleans Pelican named Brandon Ingram out there. It's not impossible to imagine that Brandon Ingram gets upset with New Orleans because he's balling out. He's been having a tremendous season. If he does not make the All-Star game, it's going to be a snub. But no one cares because they're on the Pelicans. Brandon Ingram, it's just the Pelicans are a tiny market, and it's tougher to keep stars because they want to be in the spotlight. And it's not like the Pelicans have been making 1 seeds, making the conference finals a bunch. No, Brandon Ingram's been the best player on a team that's been consistently disappointing. And yeah, a lot of that's because of Zion and his lack of playing, which I've already said I'm in for a Zion trade. But say Ingram got tired of it, and I don't know what the Knicks would have to give. That's one of those trades where Quickly is certainly involved. You're probably moving Fournier's contract, or maybe you're just moving RJ. What do you think? Would you be interested in the idea of Brandon Ingram?
I'm open to it. I want to hear the offer. I want to hear the pieces, but I'm more open to that than Zion.
I don't disagree. I'd agree with you. I would rather, because I think Brandon Ingram, Jalen Brunson, and Julius Randle does not fit poorly at all. I think that's enough shooting to create the spacing that you need. And then you have two guys who are much different positions and much different players in Ingram and Brunson who are both just bucket getters, which you do need in the playoffs. And it's not like Brandon Ingram's like a non-factor on defense. He's nothing special defensively, but he's also not a bad defender at all. He's got good length. He's pretty quick on his feet. I think it would be a way that the Knicks could seriously raise their ceiling.
I think we just gotta wait and see, man. We gotta wait and see. We gotta wait it out, and hopefully it's something good, man. Hopefully it's something good that we can move forward with. But yeah, man. All right, so that's it for this video. If you're watching this video, please make sure to leave it in the comments. Tell us a particular player that you have in mind, maybe that Chris and I did not talk about. If you wanna get out all your, I don't want to say Nick hate, definitely not Nick hate, but if you want to get out your stresses about the Knicks and how they played last night, leave it in the comments. Chris and I will respond. But until next time, guys, we'll check you out in the next video. Peace.